So I wanted to start just having introducing my timeline. During my career journey, I started at 2005, and this is when I graduated from high school. I was 17, and then I planned first on studying psychology. That was my initial plan. However, the education system, where I'm coming from, which is Egypt, is a little bit different. So I couldn't major in psychology. And this is when I find myself kind of like lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have any other ideas of what I wanted to study. So I said, I'm gonna go ahead and just major in sociology and see how's it gonna go. I actually ended up liking it, and I felt that was a great decision. And maybe it was meant for me, this incident to happen, so I can choose sociology and actually pursue a career in sociology. So I graduated in 2009, and I was also planning to continue advanced studies in sociology, get my master's and get my PhD, and I actually teach sociology. By that time, I was already engaged, and I got married. So again, plan changed. And then I actually ended up moving to the US. When I came here initially, I was still planning to study sociology and continue what I left from Egypt. But I gave birth to my son, Joseph. And again, my plan changed a little bit, and I was home, staying just a home mom for 2 years, and I didn't start my career yet, and I didn't accomplish any of my academic goals. In 2013, this is when I actually start working and then joined the workforce, and that was my first accounting job. It was an accounts receivable, and I didn't actually choose it. It was just like the first available job that I found, and I was like, okay, I will try and we'll see how it works. I was very optimistic, and I liked the challenge anyways, even though I didn't have any experience in accounting. But I did my best, and I learned very quickly, and I definitely learned from everyone that I worked with. It was a great team. And then unfortunately in 2015, yes, this is when I had to leave my job because my immigration status, my work authorization card has expired, and I had no other choices. And that was a very tough time because back in that time, I didn't have really a clear idea of my future and how I am going to move next, if I'm ever gonna have a career again, if I'm gonna continue living here or going back there. All I wanted to do at that moment is just to think at the moment and try to figure out a solution. And also, I always believed there's going to be a solution, and I'm going to overcome that challenge back in that time, which is luckily happened. So in 2017, I got again a job, and I renewed my work permit, and things went great again. But I went back and I changed my plan a little bit, and I felt that I wanted to do it right. If I want to pursue a career in accounting, even though my education is not in accounting, I might want to go back and actually study accounting and do it from scratch, so I can have the potential in growing and advancing my career and getting promoted. And I start looking online for programs. So I found actually UCLA Extension, they provide an accounting certificate, which includes all the prerequisites for the CPA exam, because that was also one of my plan. I don't want to just be an accountant and continue working, and I wanted to take it to the next level. So I actually spent about 2 years at UCLA. I was working during the day, and then I was studying at night, and I was also taking care of my son. It was tough. I never studied any of these materials. It was very, very tough, and everything was super new for me. And I struggled a lot, but I never gave up. And then I actually started liking it, and I picked it up after all. And then in 2018, actually, this is when I graduated finally, and I finished all the prerequisites that is required for the CPA exam. And then I applied to sit for the CPA exam. I was qualified, and that was really, really, really great day for me, because that was like the initial step to accomplish that goal. And then in 2018 and through 2019, this is when I actually started studying for the actual CPA exam. Back that time, I actually wanted to change careers because I always dreamed of working for a public accounting firm. And then the difference between public accounting firm and just regular accounting, in public accounting, we do serve the public. So we do consulting, we do taxes. There is a lot of practice here in my firm. My practice is consulting in state and local tax. So I pursue an opportunity from Kpmg, and I was so lucky actually to get interviewed. And then I was given an offer, and I definitely accepted it. And this is the first time I feel like, okay, I actually made a great step, and this is where I wanted to continue growing my career. Because even though back then I still have some doubts, and I wasn't sure if this is something that I wanted to do, but if I wanted to be a certified public accountant, I have actually to work for a public accounting firm, or I have to work under a CPA for a year in order to get the experience and in order actually to get the license itself. It was one of the requirements. So it was a necessary step anyways, and it was a great timing for it. And then it was actually great news for me too in 2019. This is when I finally received my permanent resident card, and then I became a permanent resident in the United States. So I didn't have any issues again. I didn't have to worry about lapse in my work permit. That was like a relief moment for me. Back then I had like a clear idea of my future for the first time, that I have a future here and I'm going to continue working in my current goals. And then I started actually passing the CPA exams. So I passed 3 exams, and they were super tough. I actually, before I passed these 3 exams, I failed the exams before. So each one of them I failed it once. And it's very common because these exams, like, they're known for being super challenging and so hard, and specifically for someone like me, I'm new to accounting world, so I didn't feel discouraged. I just felt it's part of the process. I have to fail in order to succeed, and I was learning anyways. My knowledge wasn't declining. I was actually getting better at it, and I have a better understanding of the materials. So I started passing the CPA exam, and I had 1 exam left. So I was like 1 exam away from being finally a CPA and having the end of this journey. That was actually until recently, about 2 months ago. This is when I knew that I finally passed the CPA exams, my last exams, and then I finally became a CPA. That was a major goal in my life for the last 2 years that I have been working on days and nights. And then this is not just the end. I know it's just the start for me to achieve that goal and to have my CPA license and to have the designation and the title. That just the start. And then I actually start looking for master's programs, and I decided that I'm going to start a master's in accounting and taxation from USC. And then I actually dedicated more of my time right now to work and to get involved more in my community. This is when I start actually tutoring and volunteering, and also join my firm some opportunities and get involved, and then focus more in the research or reading things that I didn't get to do during the last year because I was studying. And I'm also working in my promotion. I'm expected to get promoted to a senior associate, probably early in 2021. So that just a wrap up in my timeline, and we can move next.
So there is a few questions that were dropped in the chat box while you were going over that slide. If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and just read them out loud to you, and you can respond. So the first question that was asked is by Raymond. What were your duties working in accounts receivable?
Yes, so that's back in my first job. Accounts receivable responsibility is actually receiving cash and recording the cash and recording the payments, recording the invoice payments, and then closing the invoice, run the aging receivable, like that shows the outstanding invoices with the customers or the clients' names and the balances, and follow up in collections. This is for accounts receivable.
Thank you, Omnia. The next question is, what was the most difficult part of the exams?
The exam itself, because it doesn't really test on accounting skills, pretty much it's an academic exam, and the length of the exam is 4 hours. This is requires a huge demonstration that you actually can sit for 4 hours and maintain your focus and maintain your energy. That was actually the biggest part, sitting for 4 hours and yeah, being able to focus and have the same amount of energy that I had at the beginning. And definitely the exam questions itself, it's very tricky. It's never straightforward, and the answers are very similar and requires certain level of skepticism and questioning minds. This is also a skill that I actually developed throughout studying for the CPA exam itself.
Thank you. And the next question is, what motivates you to succeed in accounting?
Definitely knowledge. Knowledge and gaining skills and growth. Those are the things that makes me feel great about myself. And that was the only reason that I am always been like self-motivated, because I've always had a dream. Even when I was young, I knew that I'm going to be an adult, a successful adult. And I know sometimes my worth is also measured by my knowledge and my education, because those are the things that actually add value to me. And I know that I have the option to do it. So I was very motivated because I knew that I'm going to learn something new every day. And I knew I'm going to be good at something, and I'm going to be really, really good at it. And I have the credential and also have a title that my son would be proud of, and my family going to be proud of me. All of these contributed definitely to my motivation throughout the process.
I love that answer, Omnia. And lastly, I don't know if you already answered this, but how long does the EAD last, or the length of the EAD?
So it meant to last, for my situation, 1 year. So 1 year, and I have to renew it. And then one time I was able to renew it for 2 years. So I had like a relief for 2 years. I don't have to worry about it for 2 years, but most likely it's just 1 year. And then you have to provide something new, like your case is still in process, or your status a change or anything. Otherwise, it would just expires.
Alrighty, and we have one more question in the chat box. Do you have to pass the entire exam in one session, or can you take it in sections? If you do not pass, do you have to retake the entire exam, or just the parts that you did not pass?
Yes, so there are 4 sections exam. The first one, the financial accounting and reporting. The second one, and they don't have to go by order. You can take anyone first, anyone last. So financial accounting and reporting, auditing and attestation, and then regulation. This is like the tax portion. And then we have the business environment concepts, which is kind of like touch on finance. So you can take any section first or second. You decide, but one section at a time. And then once you pass one section, you have only 18 months to pass the rest of the 3 sections. Otherwise, you lose credits and then you have to retake it again. And that actually, that was a major stress for me, because after I passed like the first 3, the clock was ticking, 18 months. And then I was like, I need to pass. Otherwise, I'm going to lose the credit for the other 3 and I'm going to have to study all over again.
Test taking is always the most stressful part of anything, school, career, moving ahead, right?
Yes.
So that was the last question for this section. So I'll go ahead and let you continue on your PowerPoint.
So the other thing that I really would like to share is the factors that contributed into my success. It's a lot of things and very interrelated. But as I grow up, I feel like I have a clear idea of what I did in the past, or what my current state of mind, and definitely that would shape my future. And also, if I like, how do I came to this point? How do I did everything? All of these things I asked myself actually yesterday, and then I tried my best to put it in writing. I started all this, and I think this is also a major factor of me being self-motivated and always keeping forward, always keep moving. Because in the past, when I was young, I didn't like a lot of things in my society, and then also in my family. I am the only person in my family who have a higher degree and actually went to accredited school. So I didn't have a motivation at home. I didn't have anyone to teach me things. I was so frustrated. I didn't get help. I was that type of kid that would say actually and study because they want to study, because they want to succeed. And this is very rare these days. I saw some examples, but I feel like it's something that you actually need to have or introduce yourself to it, to be self-motivated. I didn't like things like that I am like probably a woman in my societies. They look at it like they are lesser than a man. That I actually need to just to get married and have kids and sit home, do nothing, or I'm like less smarter. I didn't like the fact the education system there, and because I couldn't actually initially choose my major, which is psychology, that was very, very frustrating. And it's like I had a great GPA, but it was just the requirements were very silly. I also didn't like the fact that I was like controlled and, sitting home doing nothing. And then when I get married, the culture says you have to be controlled by your husband, and then he decides your future. He tell you if you want to work, if you don't want to work. All of these things that I actually didn't like, and I figured my way out of everything, all of these surroundings, it's just to education, just to continue my education and to succeed and have a job and be independent and then change it. So the most important thing is, if you don't like something, if you don't like situation, if you don't like a job, you just leave and change it, and you can create a different present for you. And definitely that would create a different future. That's one major thing, and that kept me motivated all the way. So as I mentioned, I realized education and knowledge, that was pretty much the only mean of achieving that. Because if I was in a society or in a community that I didn't like, there is no way for me that I know better. And there's no way for me to have a better job or a good job or a secure job, be independent without my education. So this is a big, big factor. And I also think beauty is manifested in our minds, in our values and ethics, and this is also contributes in our knowledge. So the more that we know, definitely that would make our minds bigger, and then we will be more valuable, and then we also at the same time we need to be ethical. All of these stuff like values, ethics, and these things that we actually learn through education. So there is a great function when it comes to this point. And this is also one of the reasons why I want to continue my education, and I want to continue doing what am I doing, and I don't think I will ever stop learning. I also was very determined, and I didn't think there was any limits, even though at the moment there might be limits. But I think with the correct plan and the strategy, and then the strong mindset, you can definitely do anything that you want and you can achieve it. But you have to be persistent, and you have to know that you're not going to give up. You have to know what you're signing up for. For like example, my CPA exam, I knew from the beginning. The first thing that I heard from somebody when I said I want to be a CPA is like, forget it, you can't. These exams, like the passing rate is 40% nationwide. So I was like, okay, wow, I was actually terrified. And then I asked someone else, it's like, no, this is just too much. This is a headache. It's just like becoming a lawyer. It is super hard. Just, do an MBA or do something else. And that was actually created a challenge for me in my mind, because when I hear something like this, I was like, okay, you know what, I am actually going to do it because I think I can do it. And sounds challenging, and I do like the challenge. And if it's so hard like this, and meaning it's valuable. If it wasn't easy, I don't think anyone would have done it. Anyone would have done it if it was easy. So that was a big issue for me, but I think I believed in myself and I said, I can do it. If everyone else, like whoever passed this exam and become a CPA, were able to do it, I think I can. I'm not lesser than anyone. But I understood definitely the situation, what is required. I knew that I had to sacrifice like a period of my time, like not going out, not seeing my friends, definitely spending less time with my family, because I knew that I was working full time and I need to sit and study at least 3 hours a day. So creating the time to study and commit every single day, that was a big sacrifice. And I actually ended up changing my habits. And I think the process itself, because it lasted for too long, about 2 years, I changed my habits for good. And I think it changed in a good way. I spend less time on TV, I spend less time on my phone. I start reading, I start studying. So all of these things, it was actually a good idea, because I feel it changed also some of the habits that I didn't like anyways. So I realized that I need to make sacrifices, and I realized that I can't really achieve that goal without having that mindset that I need to continue studying. I need to, even if I didn't understand something, I'll go back to it again and read it again. I will look up online. I will even find a tutor and teach me. There is a million of ways that I can achieve or overcome a challenge during the process. And also failure. So this is something that I finally realized, like failure is part of success, or at least this is how I see it. Because if I didn't fail, I don't think I would have succeeded. So I had to fail first, and I had to know what I did wrong. I definitely knew that I probably didn't study enough. I probably didn't review enough. I didn't manage my time correctly sometimes. And I didn't actually feel 100% that I did my job 100%. I didn't do the work 100%. And this is something really interesting about the CPA exam. There is no shortcut. And I think this goes for everything. Things like the serious things or big goals that you can't really have a shortcut, or you can not study and just walk to the exam and pass. No, and was like a shift to my mental abilities and my mind, the CPA exam, because in the past, it was just like exams during school. I would review before the exam, like one day or something, and then pass it, or not really do good in the exam, and then try to make up the scores by the assignments or any other things that was going on in the class. But the CPA exam, it was just a CPA exam. That's pretty much it. It's you on the exam and then the score. You get 75%, you pass. If you don't get 75%, you're not gonna pass. I actually failed by 74%. So I was 1 point away from passing the exam, and that was so frustrating. But I definitely understood what I did wrong, and I fixed it. This is when I went back. Yeah, hard, it's tough. Like I felt like my heart was broken. after studying for like few months and then having high hopes and sitting for 4 hours. And the process was expensive. Just to say, for the exam, there is certain fees here in California. I think it would cost probably just the initial fees and the applications, and then the exam fees itself, because each exam, every time you sit, you have to pay a fee, probably like 500. And then that's excluding the review course. I had to buy a review course because it's one of the requirements in order to pass. And that was just part of the process, and I accepted it because I'm investing in myself and I'm investing in my growth. And I knew I can definitely recover these costs. So I definitely accepted the failure, and then I went back, I lift myself up again, and I studied again, and then I passed. I actually didn't have any high hopes. When I was looking at the score, I knew I'm gonna fail. I just didn't feel confident at the moment, which is pretty normal. It's okay. You can't really feel confident all the way. Sometimes you can feel like you can't do it or it's not gonna happen. But what it matters is it's actually, you don't stop, you keep going. You only fail when you quit trying. That was my principle during this process, and I never quit trying. Definitely, I think not giving up and keep going. This is a big point during the process, and definitely through work as well. When I work in accounting for the first time, and I didn't have the experience, I didn't give up, even though I was having challenging, and I thought probably they might let me go because I don't have the experience. But I took it seriously, and I tried my best, and I learned from everyone around me, and I had a good attitude. And then I tried to read about accounting, at least have an idea, take notes. So I just did my best to overcome the challenge, and actually I never gave up. I don't ever recall that I ever quit something that I pursued in the past, and this is very important in success. And at the end of the day, it's a matter of passion. What are you passionate about, and what do you actually like? What do you want to do? What makes you feel great about yourself? This is happiness. Because we want to follow this all the time. This is sometimes what I feel it keeps me going. That if I read this book, or if I pursue this degree, I'm going to feel good about myself. If I help that person, I'm going to feel good about myself. And definitely investing in my personal growth. During the process, it was very expensive, pursuing the CP exam and paying the review course and repaying the fees again when I failed. It was very expensive, but guess what? I actually got reimbursed from my work when I passed, and I actually ended up winning the CPA incentive award. And that was about $3,000. So that actually covered all of my expenses, and that was a huge victory. So definitely investing in my growth, it was a decision that I never regret, and it's a decision that I will never regret, and I'm gonna keep investing in my growth. I think there is a question. It is, what's your favorite thing about working at Kpmg? Working at Kpmg actually, it feels for me like I have the family that I never had, because it's a huge place, and it's broken down into like a lot of communities, practices, and then I actually work with a team. In the past, when I was just working like in a private accounting in the industry, I was just sitting in the office and doing my work. I'm not communicating with anyone, and then I'm just finishing my work and just sleeping, which is, it's not bad at some extent. But I also didn't have like a family here. So I miss that feeling of having like a big team, and I communicate with and actually work with each other, and then work in a client work and go in a client site and do the job. This is actually the best thing that I love about working at Kpmg, that we are one team, and then we all contribute towards each other growth. I learn a lot all the time from my seniors, and then I also always giving the opportunity to speak up and express my opinion and suggest and then bring my ideas. This is very crucial, and this is something that very, very huge about my personality, that I always like to bring ideas. I always wanted to bring ideas and try to think about solutions and try to think about something new. How can I improve my community? How can I improve my work environment? So all of these things, actually, I'm giving the opportunity, doing all of these things that I like when I work for Kpmg. And definitely, there is a lot of opportunities here. Like, for example, when I start with Kpmg, I actually start working in a different practice in Kpmg, and it was the research and the development, which it's a tax credit. So that practice, it was just specialized in consulting, in qualifying these type of credits for clients' work. But I felt like it is not something that I really enjoy doing. So I ended up being transferred to the state and local tax. And this is what I've been doing for the last 2 years right now. So definitely the ability to, switch or go to different practices, it's possible. It's not really that hard. It just, you need to know what you want to do, what do you like. And I'm so glad that I got to the point right now. So for the first time in my career, that I feel like I finally do something that I love. I work in something that I love, and I love doing every day, and it makes me feel good about myself. And I feel I'm growing my knowledge, and I want to continue growing my knowledge in that practice. And then I think other question, my students are juniors and seniors in high school. What advice or words of wisdom would you give them to persevere and push through to succeed? I recall in high school, this is when I was like, and I still positive, but I had this extra energy. Like, I just see everything so wide and open. I feel like I have a lot of opportunities ahead of me. I felt like there is no limit in this entire world. I can do everything, and I was super excited for my future. Definitely, I advise them to focus and don't get distracted from the main goal. It's a nice years. It's a lot of fun in high school. I do recall, like, it was a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, I was very, very focused on studying, maintaining my GPA, and then actually start looking, considering, because sometimes you're not going to be ready. So once you finish high school, sometimes you don't have a clear idea still what you want to do. Maybe start looking. There is a lot of, I think, organization, definitely EXP, one of them, they introduce you about career potentials or what you can do. Start looking, start visualizing yourself. What kind of person you're going to be in the future? What kind of career that you're going to you're going to continue working on? And then definitely don't give up, even if you feel like you don't have a clear idea. Like me, I was high school and then I didn't go to community college. We don't have that system in Egypt. It's straight to university. Major in something. Don't sit and just, say I'm gonna do, or go to community college and have a general education. Definitely my 2 cents is focus on your future, because it's like happening. It's almost happening. You're almost getting graduated, and then you're gonna catch up with a different life and a bigger place, which is universities. And then also start introducing yourself into potential careers, and then read about different measures, visualize yourself about your future career, and then definitely, listen to somebody advice. If you have a mentor, or pursue actually a mentor, try to find a mentor that can actually guide you and give you an advice. And then be open-minded and be patient. It's not necessarily that you know what you want to do. Sometimes it takes time, but this is okay. It's part of the process. So trust the process. As long as you have the goal and then you have the motivation, it will happen, and then you will do great.
Thank you, Omnia. If there is any final questions, feel free to either insert them in the chat box, or you're also welcome to unmute yourself and ask a question right now. But a few things that I want to touch on that Omnia discussed right now. She touched on education and the power of knowledge. and also accountability and how important it is for us to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable for our own actions. So that is such an important and key thing, to always recognize that as adults, sometimes we may slack on things, or even if you're in high school, sometimes we leave things for the last minute, or that last minute assignment, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. And then you don't get the grade you want, or you don't pass that test. You have to reflect and think, was it really the test or was it me? So accountability is so important throughout our life. So making sure that we're holding ourselves accountable for our actions. And there is one more question, Omnia, in the chat box from Raymond. You've overcome a lot in your life. What is one thing you still find a challenge for you?
Yes, there is a challenge in everyday life. And then what's really interesting about my job, that I don't do the same thing every day. I actually work in something different every day. We do have different projects going on for clients. So just like a basic idea of what I do for sales and use tax, we consider the indirect tax. So there is a lot of implications in sales and use tax. Sometimes we help clients to determine the taxabilities of certain products or services in the 52 states. And as you may know, every state has its own rules and own regulations and own statutes. So this is huge. Sometimes I have to research studies and actually interpret these statutes and regulations and make a determination, because in the regulation and statutes, it's not clear. You have to read it and you have actually to make sense out of it. And then you have to make the answer, you have to provide the answer. And this is when you actually get to make a direct impact on the clients. So if I have a client that comes to me and is like, do I have an economic nexus in given state? Economic nexus meaning like you're doing a lot of business and you need to register in the state and start collecting sales and use tax. And this is like it's like a burden in a lot of businesses. So I actually have to research these type of topics and then interpret it and then actually make the decision and tell my senior, here you go, and then provide the backup and all of these things. So gets it challenging sometimes. I actually need to mention something really, really important. And then if you find it, some people will find it relevant to their situation. I had two main challenges coming here. So English is not definitely my native language. English is my second language, even though I did study English growing up from preschool, but I never spoke it until I actually moved in 2009. So that was definitely tough, working with and I'm not really good at English, don't know how to speak it. I write it, I can read it, but speaking was very tough. And then also studying in a different language, that was very, very, very tough. So this were very, very challenging. I would still say like sometimes I do still struggle, probably like writing like a very, very technical English when I have to write like a memo or something. That's considered still a challenge that is going on. And then I'm also an adult, like I was diagnosed an adult ADHD. That was also very, very tough, being in school and then studying for the CP exam. That was very challenging. I find it hard sometimes to focus and sit for longer periods. And I still find it challenging actually during work, sitting for 8 hours or doing the same thing. As you may know, an ADHD person can focus for too long sometimes, having sometimes difficulty like speaking, or sometimes it's things seems to be boring for them. But this is actually also one of the reasons why I like working for Kpmg and specifically my practice, because I don't get to do the same thing every day. So that helps actually my ADHD. But it's a challenge every day, definitely. Working in a new task is a challenge. And also making a big decision, like a big tax decision for a client, and presenting my ideas and make a persuasive argument. This is also sometimes a challenging, finding solution for some, or troubleshooting some of the aspects of my work, this is challenging. Getting introduced even to a new software until actually 2 years, about a month ago. This new software called, I don't think it's new, but it's new for me. It's called Alteryx. This software, we use it here all the time for combining data, and it saves a lot of times. So what happened is the person that was actually, like, we call him Alteryx experts, he left the firm, and then we end up not having anyone can actually help in this area. So I was, they put me in the spot. It was like, here you go, try. I took some training, but for some reason, I just feel like I understand things better when I do it with my hands, when I actually have the actual experience doing it. So that was very, very challenging. And then, but I end up understanding, and then actually review again the learning materials or the training. And then I was patient, and then I took my time, but I finally get to learn how to work with Alteryx. So I still have challenges every day in my work. Definitely maintaining balance between work and home. This is sometimes get tricky and challenging because I love working, and then I love to do what am I doing, and I want to continue, and I want to maintain what am I doing. And then I have certain expectations, work, like the value of my work, and in the side of my regular routine, I have to maintain like a certain level of professionalism, I guess. I have to be accurate. I have to be very professional. I have to be effective and efficient. All these things, sometimes it gets challenging, maintaining these, and then definitely maintaining private life, or getting to do the fun things that I like to do, like playing piano.
Thank you, Omnia. Thank you so much. I do want to be mindful of the time for everyone. I know that we have some high school students in here. They do have to get back to class, and I think their lunch is coming up pretty soon. But before we let you go, Omnia, a few of our students are asking how they can reach you to ask a few more questions regarding your current position and background. So I don't know how we can move about that, Julie. Ms. Diversely, I'll let you answer and give me some advice on how they can reach her. But I do have her contact information for all of our minors in the room, and we will get back to you on how you can contact Omnia. Aside from that, if there's any last thoughts or questions, please, this is the time. If not, Omnia, you're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak today and to share your story with us. So thank you so much. If we can get a virtual round of applause from everyone. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. It was a pleasure meeting all of you. Thank you so much. Bye.
And Omnia, this is Mrs. Diversely. Yes. These are my students, and I have several English learners that you're speaking to right now, and a few other things. And I know that your words of wisdom and just your journey has really made a real impact on them, listening to you speak as someone like them, and the struggles and things that you have. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I hope that we can connect again soon. And you're going to do well. Next time, play the piano for us.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, everyone. Good luck with everything. Take care.